Jai Ma Kamakhya, Jai Matara, Jai Bhairava. So today in the Ashta Bhairava series, I will be speaking on the next form of Bhairava, who is known as the Krodha Bhairava. We are already aware, as I have mentioned in the previous videos, that the root in the highest spiritual planes, there is only one Bhairava. Call him Mahakala Bhairava, Kala Bhairava, whatever you want. He only becomes, for the benefit of the Upasakas, he takes the form of Vatuka Bhairava. Vatuka Bhairava, in many senses, is almost does the similar type of function that Kartikeya or Skandha does in the Vedic pantheon. Vatuka Bhairava does the same role, but in the Tantric pantheon. Now, each of these, there's a completeness in Kala Bhairava and Vatuka Bhairava. The whole Bhairava Tattva is inside them. There is nothing beyond them, nothing they cannot do, nothing that they cannot project out of themselves. In order to be able to maintain the balance of dharma, maintain the functions of the universe, Bhairava, the great Mahabhairava, projects out of himself 8 Swaroopas or forms. Each of these 8 forms are extremely powerful. They are essentially the same Bhairava Tattva, but manifested in different ways in order to function or in order to execute different kinds of functions. It is possible for somebody to be able to uh, do upasana of any one of these forms and gain proficiency. However, there are 2 things related to these forms. Each of these are specialized forms. They respond very quickly. They respond quickly, quicker than almost all Bhairava Swarupas actually. But they are also very intense. So their upasana is to be done only when somebody has created an adhara of Bhairav sadhana through the Namajapa and the other practices. This is something I've repeated in the other videos as well. So once and only when somebody has been doing the Bhairava sadhanas for a few years consistently and developed a genuine contact with the Bhairava Tattva, and this has to be judged by somebody who is competent, then only one can shift into the proper mantra sadhana of these Ashtabhairavas or any of the Ashtabhairava, depending on various factors. So Krodha, so just repeating the names, Asitanga, Rudu, Chanda, Krodha, Unmatta, Kapala, Bhishana, and Samhara. So Krodha we see is the 4th of the projections of Bhairava. The name itself is very evident. Krodha means anger. The Bhairava who represents anger. And this is a very crucial thing. I will speak about it a little later, but first let's complete the iconography. So Krodha Bhairava can be deep blue in color, or as per some dhyanams, he is also of Dhumra Varna, smoky hued. Okay. He has 4 arms in which he holds a Shankha, Chakra, Gada, and a Patra, Panapatra. His Vahana is an eagle or a Garuda, specifically a Garuda. His consort is the Vaishnavi Matrika. So each of the Bhairavas, Ashtabhairavas, are paired with one of the Matrika Shaktis. So together they form a very strong, potent, invincible Swaroopa of Bhairava. Bhairava along with the relevant Matrika Shakti. So if you see this iconography, if anybody, with even the basic knowledge of deities of Dharma, reflects on this iconography, you see that it represents this presence of the Shankha, of the Chakra, of the Gada is very uncanny to the iconography of Lord Vishnu. So we know the Chaturvahu Swarupa of Vishnu, where he holds the Shankha, Chakra, Gada and these Ayudhas. Same to that, this Swarupa of Krodha Bhairava, he holds the Shankha, Chakra, Gada, but an additional Panpatra. And remember, he has these 4 things. So first, in general, when you are seeing the iconography of a deity, the first thing is that you should start with the hands. How many arms are there? what is held in each of these arms, and that gives you a clue. So he does not display in the normal iconography of Krodha Bhairava, there is no Varada Mudra, which means that you have to embody the tattvas he holds in his hands through those activities, because arms are for actions, through those activities, and then only you will be able to embody the Swaroopa of this Devata. So what do these ayudhas actually, spiritually represent in an upasaka? Shankha is considered as one of the most auspicious sounds in dharma, along with the ghanta. So whenever, even in the Gita, we see that before the dharma yuddha starts, Lord Krishna sounds, he blows the shankha. So does Arjuna, so does the other opponents. So it is, the shankha represents a udghoshana, a declaration of intent, a declaration of dharma. There is nothing to hide. You go straight away and you do a shankhanada, which means basically you tell clearly, loudly, spectacularly in front of everybody that this is dharma, this is adharma, and this is where you stand. That absolute, clear, bold, fearless declaration is Shankha. The moment the dhwani of the Shankha comes in, it destroys confusions in the mind of the Upasaka. If there are doubts, confusions, should I do this, should I not do this, etc., the Shankha is auspicious enough, powerful enough to destroy these variations of the mind, these variations of the heart, of the chitta. When the chitta is disturbed, when there is a confusion, that is when the power of the Shankha removes those obstacles, removes those distractions, and gives a complete clarity that of intent. It's like a sankalpa. It is saying that, okay, this is what it is, and I'm going to go ahead with this. That is the power of the Shankha. And the Shankha is so useful in the upasana of Lord Vishnu. The whole Vishnu Tattva, along with the various, ayudhas and the other iconographic elements in the Vishnu Tattva, represent how Vishnu is one of the greatest of Dharma Devatas. Remember this. Every time Vishnu comes down, he is the one deity who comes down, Narayana in this Swaroopa, comes down to this plane whenever there is a need for Dharma. Whether people call him or not, that is different. So I'm not talking about the other Swarupas of Vishnu, of Lord Rama, Krishna, etc. All these are good for Upasakas and their own spiritual growth. But the essence of the avataram of Vishnu is entirely for the upliftment of dharma, upliftment of consciousness, as the human consciousness and the average level of consciousness in the universe has to go up from one stage to another. There is going to be friction from nature, friction from karmas, resulting in oppositions from asuric and rakshasi forces. So in order to be able to go from one stage to the other, it needs a divine push. And in order to deliver that push, we have Lord Vishnu taking the Swarupa of an avataram necessary for that particular time, Desh Kalpatra, comes down to lift humanity out from one cycle of consciousness into the next cycle. And the impact is so strong that for thousands of years, that changes which are affected by the activities of the avatara still reflect in our lives. So in a sense, the great war of the Mahabharata started the beginning of the Kali Yuga. And it tells you that the Kali Yuga is going to be a yuga of conflicts. There is going to be corruption, conflict, adharma, everything. And strangest, the Asuric and the Rakshasi forces will come in human form. Because when the Kauravas and the Pandavas were fighting, there is a very beautiful section where it says that as the Kauravas enter into battle, the various Asuras who had already been defeated would incarnate or take possession or cause avesham in the bodies of the various warriors of the Kaurava clan and fight against the Pandavas. So basically, it looks like there are two set of human beings fighting, but it is also two sets of Asuric versus the Daivic forces fighting out in the battlefield, where humans are mere instruments. This is a theme that repeats even today in this age and form. Whether we are aware of it or not, this battle goes on in the astral planes. This battle goes on in the spiritual planes. This battle goes on in the human planes. So this tattva of dharma samrakshana, of protection, of extreme protection of dharma, is very well encoded in the Swaroopa of Krodha Bhairava. So here we see that therefore that the Shankha is a divine instrument that removes confusions, distractions, negativity, both inside and outside. Next comes the chakra. The chakra is the wheel of time. It shows that he has control over time. Not only time, he has a perfection in vision. This is very important. See, the chakra of Lord Vishnu is known as Sudarshana. Sudarshana very simply means Sudarshana is vision, a good vision. Very simply. I mean, we can wonder that why of all possible names was it given a name so simple and so profound as Sudarshana? And it's the design of a chakra. A chakra is what? A 360-degree instrument rotating, which means basically you have a vision that shows you everything. Suppose there's a specific incident that has happened, okay? You get an information about somebody who says A or B or some particular thing. That is one aspect of it. There could be another aspect of it. There could be a third or a fourth aspect of it. There could be another individual apart from this four who may have a different aspect of it. So basically, related to any individual, related to any event, related to any occurrence, related to any kind of whether it's human or celestial occurrence, there is a vision that surrounds that event from all sides. And each of them contributes to one aspect of that event. In normal course, our vision is never perfect. We see one aspect of it and we immediately rush to a conclusion. Sudarshana means having a complete understanding of a thing, a perfect picture, a 360-degree vision of something. Because only when you have a complete vision, then and only then you have the authority to judge whether it is right or wrong, whether it is dharmic or adharmic. Somebody who indulges in judgment with limited vision immediately enters into a negative karmic cycle, which is eventually going to cause disruption to them one way or the other. Because the act of judgment, that is why the scriptures say that judgment is something that is only done by the divine. Because the divine has that vision. He or she can see who is right and who's wrong. He can see who is correct. What is the complete picture? This completeness doesn't come to human beings. Normally, it does not come unless you elevate your consciousness beyond the normal mind into the intuitive planes, when intuitively you will be guided into what is the right thing and what is the wrong thing. And that may or may not have anything to do with your own personal likings or dislikings or your own emotional attachments or detachment or anything of that sort. Okay. So that is the function of the Sudarshana Chakra. Once you have that vision, it also additionally gives you one further information. You see a thing and you can see everything about it, its weaknesses, its strengths, just about anything. And there's this famous, very cliched but very famous saying, knowledge is power. So once you know a thing inside out, once you know what is its strength, its weakness, its origin, its destination, how it works, everything, you have power over it. You know how you can increase it or how you can destroy it. You know where exactly you have to hit to destroy something, where exactly you have to, what kind of power you can give to something so that it expands beyond its normal functioning. So this is like a scientific understanding, a very detached but a complete vision of a thing. And this is important. Why? We have the Sudarshana with Lord Vishnu because he does the function of Dharma. He comes down to maintain Dharma. If he doesn't know what is right and what is wrong, who else will know? He has to know. It's a quality of his being. It's a quality of his tattva. Same way, Krodha Bhairava has that element in him where he has complete vision of what is right and what is wrong. And then we have the weapon or the gada. This gada of as a weapon is an instrument that is used to stun the enemy. When the hit from this is felt, it comes suddenly and it dulls the mind. It causes, for example, like a stambana kind of effect. The enemy does not know what to do, how to react, or any kind of negative forces. And finally, we have the Patra. The Patra is there as a constant in Bhairava, because the Patra means he will eventually grasp your own mind, your own thoughts, and he's going to drink those thoughts up, and then he's going to make your mind complete shunya, and then only the intuitive guidance will come. That is the principle in which Bhairava operates. He grasps the mind and he removes the karmas from the mind and body of the upasaka. Once that is done, then only they understand that there is a realm beyond the ordinary functioning of the world, the realm of intuition, the realm of light, the realm of the divine, the realm beyond the vital planes. And this is where Shiva and Bhairava exists as an infinite reality. We also have the Garuda as his Vahana, which is similar to that of Lord Vishnu. So oftentimes these Vahanas are very important. Why? That's because in very intense kinds of practices related to Krodha Bhairava, one may experience the presence of Garudas, one may experience the presence of birds which have a similar tendency and nature to the Garuda. Either getting drawn to the Upasaka, or some kind of signs being left multiple times, not just once. But that is, again, a caution here. It's human tendency to jump to conclusions with very loose nimittas. Avoid that. Focus on the deity. Reading the nimitta is something you keep it aside for the time being. First, development of the base of sadhana, and that requires time, effort, and patience. Without these three things, it will not work anyway. So, nimittas coming without a basic foundational base related to the devata is not a useful nimitta. Along with it, along with this form, we also have the Vaishnavi Shakti, which is obviously related to the power of Lord Vishnu. Now, interestingly, coming to the point of Krodha Bhairava. Krodha means anger. Anybody who has done Bhairava Tattva realizes one thing, that there is an element of anger that is present in Bhairava. But so is there in Kali, so is there in Tara, so is there in Chandi, so is there in Durga, so is there even in Kartikeya. When you do very intense Kartikeya Upasana, you will understand what is anger. These angers are not to be considered to be as ripus or, for example, uh, weaknesses, because this anger is divine anger. This is not normal human anger. So the nature of the divine anger is very interesting. It comes only when there is an adharma that is happening. It is not for any personal gain. It is not for any kind of uh, low level activities. It is not because somebody said something negative about you. It's not for your own ego massaging or ego, maintaining the facade of your ego and your projections of who you are. No, it has got nothing to do with that. The divine anger is a property not just of these deities, by the way. Even Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, displays the divine anger many times in his Swarupas, in his avatarams, whether it is as Narasimha, whether it's as Parashurama, whether it is as Rama in the battlefield, Lord Rama, whether it's Krishna, when they try to, tie him down in the Sabha and he takes the Vikaral Swarupa. All of them display anger. Anger, or for that matter, any of the ripus, can also be used for a divine purpose. It is the intent behind it, it is the purpose, and it is the final result that determines if something is divine or not divine. We also have the saying from the Upanishad that Sarvam Khalvidam Brahman. Everything is the divine. If everything is divine, there is nothing that is not divine. What we call as flaws, what we call as ripus, can also become the divine. This is the principle in which the Pancha Tattva Puja, what we call the Tantric Pancha Makara, things that are considered to be defiling in the normal sense of puja, are also used. And from there, with the help of mantras, with the help of the right intent, the Upasaka is able to draw out a divine power, Shakti, from that and then offer it to the Devata. This process of transformation of that which we consider to be negative into something that is positive is very much a part of the divine chemistry, a divine alchemy, a divine transformation. So we have Krodha Bhairava, who displays tremendous amount of anger. But this anger is controlled. Two aspects of this anger is very different from normal anger. One, it is dharmic. It arises spontaneously whenever there is an dharma. But being a devata, being a god, he also has control over that anger. There is a very fractional micro mini second inside a human mind when there is, before the awakening of anger, one has the ability to control it, provided one has control over one's mind. For normal human beings, we normally lack that. But for Bhairava, he has the ability to control his anger. He can decide when to become angry, when not to become angry. Even if there is an upsurge of the Shakti of anger, he can control it completely and unleash that anger whenever there is a necessity for a dharmic activity, whenever there is a necessity for removing adharma. This is the purpose of Krodha Bhairava. He holds that power of anger. That power of anger is also a shield. Shield, why? Because it protects against any kind of negativity. In fact, in a lot of the prayogas or a lot of the counteracting prayogas, whenever there is some negative that has been done, you have to counteract that. Various times, many of the devatas were invoked. For example, say Pratyangira increases heat and anger in the body like crazy. If you do sadhana up to beyond a point, you will realize the amount of uh, the download of anger that happens in your mind. And that anger is directed, and that power, the Shakti of the anger is used to break away whatever prayogas have been done and redirect them back to whatever is the source. So anger is also a shield. Only when it is dharmic, only when it is controlled. Otherwise, anger is like, there's this famous saying, being angry is like holding a hot piece of coal in your hand. So it's going to burn you, that anger is going to burn your hand completely and destroy you rather than actually causing any kind of problems for the enemy. So remember this, ordinary anger is not useful, but the divine anger is useful. Similarly, each of the ripus that we have, each of the chains that bind the consciousness, the ashtapashas or the shara ripus, can also be transformed into the divine state and used by the devatas. That is how the Krodha Bhairava Swaroopa of Bhairava uses anger as a protective shield, directs it towards Shatrus of Dharma, directs it in any place where there are Asuric forces. And this is important, Asuric forces. Why? Because he also stands in the Nairtya Kona, the southwest direction. Nairtya Kona is the direction from which all kinds of negative things come towards a particular place, a spot, Upasaka, whatever it is. He stands there as an embodiment of divine anger, holding the Shankha, holding the Chakra, holding the Gada and the Patra, and ensuring that none of the negativity can pass through from the Nairtya Kona towards the Upasaka or the ritual where he is guarding. This makes him also capable of removing various kinds of doshas generated out of Shani in a horoscope. He can make sure that the impact of Saturn is reduced significantly in an individual, provided that Upasaka embodies the tattva of Krodha Bhairava and is able to function and is able to work and is able to, follow the path that is shown in the iconography of Krodha Bhairava. This is very important. This is extremely important. So therefore, we see that Krodha Bhairava is a form related to, it's like Lord Vishnu, who maintains dharma, who uses these instruments, who represents divine anger. And finally, he also helps the Upasaka to transmute anger. He knows when to control the anger, he knows when to unleash the anger, and he knows when to switch back from anger into the normal state. This is his tremendous ability. Another aspect of Krodha Bhairava, which is lesser known, is that in certain kinds of Bhairava sadhana chakras, the first Bhairava is not Asitanga, but the first Bhairava is Krodha Bhairava, and then one goes round in cycles, because what one does is fix the Vishnu Tattva ensure that the Nairtya Kona is stopped, or there is no leakage of Shakti, there is no negative energy that can come from Nairtya. And then only one goes into development of the other aspects of being through the Ashta Bhairava sadhanas. So this is one very rare form of Ashta Bhairava Upasana and Paddhati, where it starts from the Krodha Bhairava, not Asidanga Bhairava, and then goes into a cycle and completes, thus ensuring that there is an absolute and complete protection from all sides. Last point before I forget, there is another aspect of the divine anger. I have already mentioned that the anger, the divine anger, the Krodha, comes only when there is an adharmic activity. It rises spontaneously. The Devata and eventually the Upasaka is able to control the anger. And finally, the anger goes away as quickly as it rises. This is the nature of the divine anger. They do not carry forward anger. It is not like, somebody told me something and for 10 years I am angry on that. That is not human anger, that is human ego. Ego is very different. Human ego is like a sewage, it is like a drain of karmas. It is like a kind of marshy land which pulls the individual down into it, and the more they get angry, the more they keep falling until they completely drown and they're finished for this life and the coming lives. But the divine anger is not like that. It rises very sharply, quickly, powerfully, as a Shakti of action. And once the activity is done, it rises back, it falls down completely and normalizes as if nothing has happened. This example we see for instance, when Shiva is fighting with asuras, we see this example. He's pinning down Andhakasura and the other asuras on his Trishula, and he takes the Bhairava Swarupam because he's very fierce at that time when he's destroying the asuras. And at the last moment, when Andhaka is pinned on the Trishula, he's singing pyans, he's singing Shahasranama of Shiva, a stuti of Shiva, because he realizes that he has made a mistake. He realizes that Shiva is divine and he can never win. And it was his ego that was making him fight Shiva. And then he surrenders through that stuti. And when he surrenders, when he realizes a mistake, Shiva is also kind. He allows him a new life. He makes him a Gana. So imagine a Asura who has done so many adharmic activities. Shiva does not punish because of cruelty. There is no vengeance in him. The divine has no concept of vengeance. The divine has no concept of cruelty. These are human deformations of the mind and emotions of the human beings. If he sees that there is a parivartana, there is a change actually that has happened in the Asuric being, it gives him another lease of life. It gives him another opportunity, a new start. So that same Asura then becomes one of the chief Ganas of Lord Shiva and goes around with Shiva. Imagine being a Gana of Rudra, of Shiva, of Bhairava, being in his plane, serving him all the time, being in contact with him directly. That is a huge spiritual lift. It's not easy. Not everybody can get it. It is like, after thousands of years of tapasya also, an ordinary Upasaka cannot claim that he will become a Gana of Shiva. It's not that simple. That is the kindness. So there is Krodha and there is Karuna together functioning in the Devata. This is why he is divine. This is why he is Bhairava. This is why he is not human. This is why he is a god we worship. So with that, I'll end this video here. I hope the various aspects of Krodha Bhairava are clear, and these knowledge will be helpful to you in understanding the various manifestations of Bhairava. See, like any sadhana, Bhairava sadhana is not a quick, short 2 years, 3 years thing. No, that's all the lower level sadhana. You need to do the sadhana to uplift your soul to the realm of the divine so that you attain mukti. In order to do that, one has to go slowly, steadily, with time, with effort, with patience, with understanding. And that is why these Ashtabhairava series are important to understand the tattva of each of the Bhairavas, not necessarily to chant his mantras at the moment. Jai Ma Kamakhya, Jai Ma Tara, Jai Bhairava Baba.